Hey guys, what's up? Ellen here. Welcome to my channel. It's been 2.5 years since I've been teaching English and traveling around Asia. These are the countries I've been to so far. And I can't wait to see all the countries that are still on my bucket list. Living in Asia has been one of the most incredible experiences I have ever had in my life. So I decided to create this YouTube channel for you guys so that you'd be inspired to fulfill your own travel dreams someday in the future. Now, before we move on to today's topic, I quickly want to apologize for all the fails that I'm going to be making throughout this video. This happens to be the first video that I'm ever shooting for YouTube or for any other platform for the matter, so there are going to be plenty of fails before I learn how to do this half properly. So please stick with me guys, wish me luck, and I promise I'm going to make this up to you. The topic of today's video was inspired by all those questions that I got when I first moved to China 2.5 years ago to work as an English teacher. All of my friends and family were asking me, what is it like to live in China? What is the food like? What are the people like? How do you overcome the language barrier? So I decided to combine all these questions into a short video and tell you about the 10 things I wish I knew before I moved to China. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, the first thing I wish I knew is that I had to learn Mandarin before going to China. I can totally see you freaking out behind the screen right now, so I have to explain this one. By saying you have to learn Mandarin, I don't actually mean you have to learn Mandarin, but what I mean is you have to learn the basics before arriving at a Chinese airport, and I'm gonna tell you why. I remember my very first time arriving at a Chinese airport, and you know, no one around me, including the airport staff, spoke a word of English. My 4G was off. I couldn't connect to the airport Wi-Fi for some reason, so I couldn't access any of the translation apps that are out there. I was terrified. It's crazy how helpless you can be when your data is off and you are in a foreign country and you don't speak the language. It is an absolute miracle that I made my way to a taxi and I actually managed to tell the taxi driver where he needs to drive me to. So guys, please learn from my mistakes. Learn your basic Chinese before going to China. Learn your directions, learn the name of your hotel in Chinese, and first and foremost, get a freaking data. The next thing I wish I knew is that the food culture is going to be completely different. Before I get on with this point, I am really not trying to offend anyone. I absolutely love Chinese food. But when it comes to food safety, hygiene, and food culture in general, China is very different from the rest of the world. This is something you'd expect to find in almost every single Chinese restaurant. I'm not talking about the top restaurants or expensive restaurants. I'm talking about regular eateries or buffets where you'll go and have your lunch at, say 5 times a week. You are going to be sitting at a table with 10 other people who are going to throw food waste all over the table and spit on the floor right inside the restaurant. And the worst thing about it, everybody's gonna be totally fine with it except you. Also, most eateries have open kitchens, right? So the customers can totally see what's going on inside the kitchen. And guys, to say that the kitchens are not as clean as you'd want them to see is a big understatement. Also, Chinese food is not too Instagrammable, if you know what I mean. All those soups and stuff, they don't really look that great. But here comes the trick. Once you learn how to be open-minded about it and give Chinese food a try, you are gonna absolutely love it. My advice is be prepared for all those differences in food culture. Try different types of food. Go to the night markets and go crazy over all the yummy food that the night markets have to offer. I really wish I had given Chinese food a try a long time ago, because the first couple of months when I arrived in China, I was refusing to eat Chinese food, and that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life. Now let's move to point number 3. Pollution is a real deal, especially in your bigger cities. So once you're not ready to deal with its consequences, I highly recommend you choose a smaller city to go to. The city I went to, and it was a tiny city of 10 million people, and I'm not joking, it is considered to be a small city in China, was considered to be one of the less polluted cities, but it was still very bad. I've had friends who had acne problems, headaches, allergies, and all that because of the pollution. It is needless to say how important your health is. So once you make a choice of a city to go to, please make sure that it is not as badly polluted. Let's move to number 4. The myth about Chinese sizes is not a myth. Whoa, that was an epic fail. talking about clothes here, I have no idea where your mind is going. Chinese people are ridiculously slim. So chances are the biggest sizes on their store catalogs are still not gonna fit you. I instantly went from size S to XL, and that was probably the fastest weight gain I have ever experienced in my life. So if you are a girl and you love shopping like I do, then this is a major point for you because you have to find the shops which will have your size. Point number 5. And this point is especially relevant for girls. Once you learn where to find your size in China, shopping is gonna absolutely destroy you. When I first arrived in China, I was introduced to this cute little app called Taobao. For those of you who doesn't know, Taobao is a massive shopping platform. It is very similar to Amazon, only it is so much bigger. It has every imaginable item in the world that you never thought existed in the first place. And what is worse is that you feel the urge to buy all this stuff. I spent hours shopping on Taobao. I had packages delivered to my workplace every single day. I refused to count how much money I spent shopping for things I didn't even need. Take my advice and put a limit for yourself. Buy only the things that you are really gonna need. The biggest point in this whole situation is that you won't be able to carry all that stuff home with you once you leave China. That's exactly what happened to me. I was leaving China with 2 30-kilogram suitcases and 1 10-kilogram hand luggage, and I was still not able to fit all the stuff that I bought on Taobao in my suitcases. I am so humiliated right now because I had to admit all of this on camera, and I never ever, consider myself a shopaholic, but I actually am. Point number 6. Traffic in China is horrible, okay? It is horrible. To be fair, this is what I thought before I experienced the traffic in Vietnam, and I thought Chinese traffic is a summer vacation compared to the traffic in Vietnam. But I'm gonna leave this point here just in case China is the first country you're gonna be experiencing in Asia, and you have to know that you have to be careful when crossing the street, when driving your motorbike if you're gonna drive one, when driving a car if you're gonna drive one. So please be careful. And your biggest enemies are going to be the e-bikes because they are super tiny, so you can't see them coming. Moving to number 7. Point number 7 is something people don't usually speak about when it comes to the expat life in China, but I think that it should be addressed in the first place. China doesn't have a lot of foreigners. And again, I'm not talking about the bigger cities because you're gonna have a lot of tourists there. I'm talking about tiny cities like mine, which, as I said, had a population of 10 million people. 2 of my friends spent 6 months before they met another foreigner in the city. I was so lucky to be introduced to other foreigners when I arrived. Now, I know exactly what you gotta be thinking. You are in China, for God's sake. Make friends among the Chinese people, and you are absolutely right. But what is important to know is that when you are in a foreign country, it is really important to have like-minded people around you. It is important to have people who will come from similar cultural backgrounds. And again, this doesn't mean you can't have friends among the Chinese people because they are super fun. And it is important that you realize that the amount of things you can do with your local friends opposed to the things you can do with your foreign friends are very different, because there is nothing more fun than to experience a certain culture through its people. And again, this is entirely on you guys. If you want to go to a bigger city, naturally it's gonna have more foreigners and more people to hang out with, but again, it's gonna have more pollution. So please make your choice wisely. Point number 8. You are going to be a celebrity. Since there are not a lot of foreigners in China, chances are you're gonna be the only foreigner or one of the 20 foreigners in your city. So don't be surprised if people start staring at you or taking pictures of you right on the street. I had people who would approach me on the street and ask to take selfies with me. How crazy is that? This is something you will not be experiencing in any other country in the world. This is basically what our reaction would be if we saw Leo DiCaprio walking down the street right now. That's how insane it is for Chinese people to see a foreign person. And this somehow makes you feel so good about yourself. And I know I shouldn't, because I don't own any credits in how I look or the fact that I'm not born Chinese. There are actually people on this planet who think that I'm something special and they want to take photos with me, and that is a very strange and overwhelming feeling. point number 9. You are gonna get used to living without social media. And I feel this is especially important since we are living in an era where your social media presence is so important when it comes to making new connections or making friends. I was a huge Facebook and Instagram person. I mean, who's not, right? I was going on Facebook and Instagram 20-30 times a day. But the thing is that the apps we are used to using back at home, like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, they are all banned in China. And in order to access those apps, you will need a VPN. I'm not really good at explaining these things, but VPN is basically a program which allows you to safely access all those websites or applications which are initially banned by the government. But the thing is, if your internet is slow, then VPN won't turn on in the first place. Or if it turns on, it's gonna slow down your internet big time. What we did as expats back in China, we downloaded an app called WeChat. It is a substitute to Instagram, Facebook, Google Maps, and it can also work as an online wallet, so you can make your online payments through WeChat. And ideally, what I'd recommend you guys is that you give your WeChat ID to all of your friends and family and ask them to download WeChat as well, so that you can communicate through this platform and don't go through all the inconvenience of turning on your VPN all the time. And you know, the best thing about having a restricted access to these social media platforms is that you are actually starting to enjoy your real life. All of a sudden, you don't need Facebook or Instagram to feel happy or to entertain yourself throughout the day. The 10th thing I wish I knew before I moved to China is that I'm gonna be losing a lot of my friends. This is something that you'd expect to happen because since you are not going on those social media platforms anymore, then naturally you're gonna speak less to your friends. On top of that, you're not gonna be seeing each other every second day or every week, and you're not gonna have the same interests anymore. And this was such a weird thing for me to discover because there are so little people who are ready to make that effort for you to keep that long distance connection. And the good thing about it is that the people who are meant to stick with you will stick with you no matter what. So China is a great filter for you to realize who are your true friends, who are the people that will stay with you no matter what. These were the 10 things I wish I knew before I moved to China. I really hope these points were useful for you guys and that they will help you initially make a decision whether or not to move to China in the first place. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. Also, if you want to know more about my traveling experiences and see the photos that I took while being in different countries, then please make sure to find me on Instagram because that is where I upload most of my content. Okay guys, I hope you have a wonderful week and I'll see you soon.